Number 2, we're going to Sky Temple. That is going to be No Tomorrow's pick. Simplicity does favor the first pick option. And for No Tomorrow, they've picked this battleground a couple of times, sitting at 2-2 coming into the weekend on that. Simplicity only 1-2 coming into the weekend, not counting prior matches. So something that both teams have had mixed success on, but definitely more of a pick priority for No Tomorrow.
Yeah, and with No Tomorrow getting the win, banning out the highest probability map for Simplicity, getting the win on Volsky, the second highest selected. If they get the win here, I feel like there's no reason to not get a 3-0 in this type of situation. And I say that because even if this isn't the go-to for Simplicity, I will always look at King Caffeine and K1 Pro and go, their battleground is Sky Temple. It is the go-to for this roster, and it always was in the past. It was where they shine the best. They bring the team fight, they out-rotate you from beginning to end. So I feel like if you got that win on the second highest for Simplicity and then be able to counter those old members of Simplicity on Sky Temple, you've got yourself a series.
I can't help but think that if they want to do something different, the Dahaka was a focus at times.
I want Zuna on Urel. Where's that been? Urel has such a carefree approach to Heroes of the Storm. She leaps, she throws some hammers around, she does this really cool stance thing that eventually heals her, doesn't even need to hit anybody to be able to make that happen. That fits Zuna's playstyle, I feel like, so well. Just get in there, get in your face, and be like, you want to battle. We saw it in part number 1, and it started out, you know, not so hot, but as time went on, definitely really improved here for the roster, and now it's been a very low priority for Simplicity since we've come back. Or that, or Zeratul. Like,
I was going to say Zeratul.
Put them on those melee assassins that actually can fit into this meta.
Well, they don't want Urel. They definitely don't want. I'm thinking
I'm down. Illidanno. Yeah, Illidan. Not the best battleground for him. Unless your opponent picks like a very weak early game Abathur Sergeant Hammer, which Sergeant Hammer would not be weak enough early game, but something where they struggle with that, talking about Hammer, macro pressure in the early game to where Illidan can really be overly problematic. But that playstyle, I think Simplicity would do far better with here. As you were talking about, though, the Dahaka is still going to be the high priority for Simplicity. They'll pick that up and look for the mix-up there. My only fear and concern is just like the communication over the Sunderings were difficult. Brush Talks, I feel like, even harder and more demanding there. And Jay Sharite has a Hanzo, so run for your lives because Dragon's Arrows are going to land.
I was going to say, with the consideration, does Blaze all of a sudden rise in priority because you only have these 2 picks before the second ban? We've seen the focus on solo laners. They do get the Blaze, and if you can get the Dragon Arrow into a Blaze stun, that is a lot of follow-up fat AoE CC. The amount that hits there, the Maiev was let through, so that's going to be the pickup. And Murden again here for King Caffeine.
And compositionally speaking, though, I like this a lot more for Simplicity. I think that if they're going to be successful having K1 Pro on something not only playmaking, but very offensive and skirmish-oriented, I still, again, I'm going to remain reserved for the Dahaka pickup. I personally, even though he has remained staple in North America, I'm not as big a fan of Dahaka. This is a better battleground for him. I just do wonder, is that relying too much to the later state? Because, Jay, way back, we used to see teams go even on Sky Temple to level 13. How often do we even see teams get to 10 on even footing anymore? It's very rare. So Dahaka is relying on a time frame that we can no longer depend on Sky Temple, I feel like.
So Deckard was banned out. No Tomorrow could conceivably go into white main again, but they're not going to go into white main now. But one of the heroes that always comes to mind with Simplicity because of Tiger JK is the potential for a Kharazim. If you wanted to get some type of split push, if you wanted to get some type of isolation kill with the Maiev pulling people in, definitely fits that style if they wanted to get aggressive.
What are we going to get here for No Tomorrow, though? The front line is the biggest concern, I feel like, for me here. Knowing that Murden is already taken by Simplicity, Malfurion, and it's going to be the Garrosh looking for an older combo here. But they do have the Blaze to be able to help with any survivability problems Garrosh might have with the control. And with Deckard banned out and Malfurion picked up, White Man already banned, there's not too many supports that provide that much threat. I will say there is still the Kharazim, but we don't know Simplicity to be able to function with that. Well, Tiger JK in the past is very comfortable with it.
Well, Garrosh there definitely raises the eyebrows when you think of Kharazim, because getting taunted in there can be troublesome, but also you get the 7-sided strike that could also take down the health bar of Garrosh. So it will be the Kharazim, and we'll get the Jimmy Raynor. He's going to be the follow-up damage. We need another damage dealer here for No Tomorrow, and I wonder with this type, we saw Tomster already flex back to a Thrall pickup before. Are they willing to go that route, or will it be more damage?
One of the concerns I would have with the Thrall is they don't have a dependable damage source between the Hanzo on a battleground like this. He's a walking Dragon's Arrow, I feel like, in this type of situation. For anybody wondering why I always talk about that with Hanzo on this battleground is since the standard nerfs to Redemption build, right, where you can just pretty much be effective everywhere, you suddenly have to consider sidewalls towards relevance, right? Outside of the boss control, which we know is always a problem, giant control, which is once in a while a problem on a map like Sky Temple. Mid, there's almost nowhere for a predictable kind of control. You can maybe reflect off the back end of it, but then half the times you have Guardians blocking a majority of your Scatter's Arrow. Down below, really easy to dodge, and it kind of hooks out in a funky manner. Yep. Top, you should never be in that choke to be smashed by kind of scattered arrows effectively. So it's just that you need 2 damage dealers to be overly reliable. Otherwise, it's going to be, here's a Dragon's Arrow, here's our Earthquake or Sundering in this type of situation. Who's going to get the kill?
It seems that this has been the counter pick, the Thrall pick, knowing that Tomster used to be that melee. They're continuing to flex onto that, allowing him to pick up a role to protect that backline. And we're still waiting to see more on what do we have, what type of combos can they come up with the double backliner potentially, which might have been more effective, but they go to something that they're still comfortable with. Maybe they're still working through some of that. We're going to get the Thrall pick up instead.
We're going to find out how this unfolds, though, here with the 7-sided strike and the Warden's Cage pickup, how that's going to function, because they're really good together, J-How, and they're really bad together. And we can just go through a small example as to why that's the case, right? You get stuck in the Warden's Cage, and the 7-sided comes out. You're getting punched. Bam, 49% of your HP is gone. That is max value when looking at that 7, right? And you're like, oh, I'll run away from it. You hit the wall. You're still pulled back. You're like, man, this is a tough time. But anybody else on your team, they touch one of those walls, bam, your 7-sided is useless. You have to be able to make sure that you essentially 7-sided onto the off-kill target, and then make sure that anybody else who wants to move in defense is equally as dead and lethal, essentially.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is just hit the edge of that and get that instant pull in.
Yeah, kiss the rim.
Simple. We actually saw that earlier today. Dahaka did that in one of the earlier games, making sure that he came in a similar situation. See if that comes into play here. We mentioned the CC, the potential CC. It's something that has made its way back, but the unstoppable potential for Blaze on that Pyromania been picked up here. The talent at level 1 just requires 15 globes.
Going to work really well against the Maiev, helping with that Warden's Cage Fears. Also, I haven't even talked about the Warden's Cage plus the bunker conundrum, because then when you 7-sided on top of that, you just throw down the bunker and everybody's like, well, it feels bad because you don't even punch the bunker. You would normally think, well, at least I can punch the bunker a little bit there. But very much not the case. As Zuna drops a pause here for us, ladies and gentlemen.
He's punching the P button right now.
Is that because he needs a bio break, or?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe?
According to chat, there was apparently a problem with one of his spells weren't working, which
his Q wasn't
turns
working.
out when you play Dahaka, if your drag isn't working, you're probably going to have a bad time. If you could choose one spell on Dahaka to not function for the entire game, which is it? Brushstock counts.
Brushstock.
Really? You lose the only relevant factor to that character.
Have you ever walked around the map?
Have you ever not mounted ever in your entire life? You're only doing that because he walks like a dino? Like that weird T-Rex, like creepy thing he does?
Yeah, no, I mean, it depends. I mean, is the map, do I have lots of pathing that says
you're right.
walk to a bush on the way down?
I didn't give you enough context to give an accurate or effective. Honestly, I set you up for failure. That's on me.
You said Brushstalker counts, and then you pretty much debated me on that last comment.
I did. I actually was really hoping you would say that, because to me it's like, well, then why ever Dahaka?
I mean, you could easily just go W build at that point if you can't use your Q. Oh, yeah. Now we're talking.
Dark Swarm value, ladies and gentlemen.
There was a time where that was
a go-to.
Dude, Wubby, back at the Western Clash against that full melee comp, that was one of the best uses I've seen of it in a long time. Speaking of best uses, Jin
gets tethered back, body blocked out from the jet propulsion.
He got big body.
He did. Front wall going to be sieged up here by Simplicity. Easy work there after picking off that Blaze. Casanova questioning if he can move up, but every time you see K1 Pro throw out that shadow, you know it's difficult to move up to. No tether attempt here, but one crazy thing to think about here, J-How, is that one kill alone, when you think about the night camp timing, right? This is the moment where you expect No Tomorrow to start sieging out with their knights. It's already dead before it makes it past the front wall.
Feels bad, man.
Part of the struggles there with that catch out onto the Blaze. Look at that. Zuna's even threatening for a moment there, I was questioning he was going to threaten the invade onto the Giants. Actually backed out of that. Giant camps are going to be started for both teams, pretty much flat mirrored. Dahaka will have the global advantage to the upper half of the map and more realistically should have a faster clear over these bottom Giants. So in theory, advantage to Simplicity, but not colossal.
Yeah, and that brings up decision-making differences now because at times there's going to be...
K1 Pro's in range. That's a dead Tomster.
He's got to get the tether.
He didn't tether the wall.
So I'm going to say this. Zuna needed to Dark Swarm through Thrall for the body block. He was one step shy of making it through. If you body block through there, it doesn't matter if a tether comes through or not.
You are right. And the fact that
but the tether definitely needed to be there.
I'm pretty sure K1 Pro stalled a little bit on the auto or the tether or something there. It didn't feel like he might have been just out of range, and I'm not giving him credit. But, man, very close there, and surely should have been a kill there in one way or another for Simplicity. Stormbolt does end up landing here. Casanova not going to get the full follow-up tether treatment that the rest of No Tomorrow has had to endure here. Dahaka still yet to get the brush stock up. Blaze showing himself on bottom while Thrall is capturing through mid. No Tomorrow is displaying all 5 members on the battleground without a global, and Simplicity is pretty much just trading even. That, ladies and gentlemen, is not what you want to see here with the global advantage for Simplicity. Yeah, that's why I was saying the decision-making before we saw that gank attempt, it was very different. Had they got the Thrall kill, that's a huge advantage as the temples spawn. Instead, you know, the Siege Giants were there. You had the global. It changes the decision-making because those night camps held so little value. Instead, it just plain even at this point for No Tomorrow. I feel like they've dodged a serious bullet here in the early game. They really have. And they are going to be able to stall it out, set it to near a flat even game, moving towards the 10 spike. And conveniently enough, when talking about the Dahaka, I was, Jay, how often do we make it to that threshold? You know, outside of any major skirmishes or somebody mess up, we might see that rare circumstance where it is dead even, and the Dahaka could become overly problematic here. If there is going to be a major power play, I would argue it's on Simplicity. They have the ganking composition, they have the team fight kind of kill potential in 1 through 9. And it would happen probably over a Giant camp, but not going to be available for at least another minute and 2 seconds there on the side of No Tomorrow. See potential gank squad here. King Caffeine and team waiting in the wings, trying to see if they can find somebody to path through. They're going to go ahead and find Casanova as he comes through. It is a Garrosh, gets the toss and the knockback. King Caffeine does have the stun. There's the follow-up, and there's going to be another kill. Kill number 2. That gank attempt definitely did not fail. It did not fail there, but I feel like a lot of that was just a little bit of that kind of adjustments to the roles that we've been seeing out of No Tomorrow. And I don't say that as in like, wow, Casanova misplayed that, because he didn't. He actually did everything that I feel like he should have in the type of situation. It was just the coordination as a unit. He just needed 2 members with him. You could see he was waiting for the rest of the squad to join so he could kind of make that rotation through riskily, then didn't wait for the 3rd man to join him, suddenly goes, oh, there's 4 people in the shrub, I have to run away, and then no response available here. Good punishment from Simplicity, setting up that trap and pulling the trigger before No Tomorrow could kind of stick around, and suddenly they dodged the first bullet, but the second one that maybe you wouldn't expect does end up at least clipping the shoulder of No Tomorrow. Well, you mentioned the Siege camp. This is an interesting approach because Simplicity did buy time, and they're going to warrant a response in that top lane for Dahaka. Has that global, Simplicity close to level 10. That will need to be responded to, but this does give an opportunity with level 10. If Simplicity chooses to take it, they could easily steal those Siege Giants if they see. The minute they see that ping up top and 10's here, I'm surprised they're not moving towards that. They always have the Brush Stalker option. Yeah, I'd love to be able to go. I would like to see it actually a 3-man start onto it. I think the argument here is going to be enabling the Giants is debatably a better trade-up, but purely because they're consuming the shots on bottom, that's not a true statement. Yeah. If they held off the shots on bottom, could get the Siege defense capabilities, then consume the shots, it could be, again, more profitable. So maybe letting off the gas a little bit here, but by no means are they struggling as Simplicity still a full level lead before No Tomorrow can accumulate that 10 pickup. Hanzo is going to go ahead and start that there. Full W build from him, 1 through 7. So doubt any invade opportunity available now for Simplicity. No Tomorrow trying to make their way down with their heroics to be a threat, but Dahaka still pushing on top for Simplicity. This is them just abusing the structure advantage they got before the experience, and more importantly, their global. As always, keep your mobility hero, like a Muradin, who's super tanky on that temple. Go ahead and move off, and then the one person, in case there is a gank attempt, can always jump over while the rest of your team goes. So they get the trade. They do see Dahaka and team are going up there. I think that's just an accidental procking of the boss. By the way, Divine Palm, no 7-sided strike here. Yeah, I was going to say a little bit about that until we had a skirmish before. Number one, Tiger JK is actually one of the most prominent Palm players that we have in all North America, which we don't have very many Kharazim, so maybe that's unfair to say. But the few that we have, even when Kharazim wasn't a thing, everybody was like, no, you know, I don't want to run it. He was still very much a huge Palm advocate. Boss going to be started. 10s are here. No 13 talent here. Falls below 50%. A little bit of damage there. Jay Shrite still whittling away there with that triple W Hanzo build. No brush stock shown yet. You see the pings. There's the brush dock on the back line.
Seeing if he can land the isolation onto that backside instead. We get a full combo here. The Tranquility did manage to get out, but this is going to be a bunker. And see who falls coming out of this, because Casanova team somehow surviving, as is Akaface. I have no idea how everybody is still alive. It's a 1-for-1 trade so far. Tiger JK eventually gets a kill on the backside. 3 members down. Tomster, he's going to be number 4. Dread has lost it, just like No Tomorrow lost that team fight.
I'm sorry. Hey, okay, at some point, can we go back and watch that replay from Hostie's perspective? Because that fight was beautiful. First of all, okay, K1 Pro, the setup over this choke is insane, but the bunker buys so much time. And now watch the boss. Hostie's just like, I'm on my island. It's like, this boss has to be started. Somebody should take this. Picks it up himself and secures it. Granted, that is all through the setup of K1 Pro, but Hostie just like, hey, nobody's taking this boss. Can I? All right, it's mine.
That coordination, though, to get Maev and Dahaka all lined up. That was timed so beautifully. There was a good counter response because we saw Tranquility come out before the isolation could even get involved there. But
I just see this sweet little Hostie just sitting in a corner like, can I have this boss? Like, just only kindly asking, no, tomorrow, are you really going to give this over to me? Oh, man, great plays. And synergy, honestly, displayed there by Simplicity, something that seemed a bit amiss in Game 1. It's nice to see it come to life here on Sky Temple. No Tomorrow, though, in the downtime. Looking for these shots throughout mid. Structural advantage still significantly in head in favor of Simplicity. Experience even more so after that last skirmish. So at this point, it is watching No Tomorrow kind of kite around, try and pick up the 13s, consume as many shots as they can, and then find a way to bring a fight over to Simplicity.
Well, Simplicity made a very good response in the bot lane because they saw that, look, No Tomorrow, they want to get as much value out of that temple as they can, and so they're like, well, we'll start taking down the top structures. Simplicity, they start to push down bot lane. They had the Siege Giants, which are far more threatening towards that bottom keeps life, especially with that temple now focusing down there, forcing out a back, and now the structural advantage definitely in favor of Simplicity, and they also have a 2-level lead.
Biggest power play within the downtime with no boss opportunity is always with the bottom giant stacking. And notice how without the rotation to it immediately, it's not going to be an opportunity. Still 2 minutes out until Simplicity have their giants picked up. This is one of those moments where actually a double night camp stack is going to be the biggest play. And look at that. Already King Caffeine is anchored. Ideally, King Caffeine would have burnt the Dwarf Toss in the downtime and actually walk into that shrub upward, so that doesn't happen right there. You can't walk to it because the minion waves actually would reveal you in the downtime. Again, I'm kind of nitpicking going, what could Simplicity do in the downtime with this 16-tier advantage? I'm not saying that they have to, but it's just one of those things that looking at the small things they can do to up their advantages here.
So that was a little Hostie. Are you looking at the small Hostie? The small Hostie have the same size beard, though?
Are you talking about in my head, like baby Hostie who's asking, are you going to give me? Yeah, he does. He's got the full, beautiful fledged beard, everything masculine Hostie, but he's just tiny, you know? He's just tiny Hostie.
Tiny Hostie. Speaking of tiny, that's a tiny hammer with a big impact. King Caffeine already used his Dwarf Toss. See if he can get out of there. Divine Palm was used, but Avatar was popped. Here comes some follow-up damage as we see the tethers come in, but bunker out as well, Dread.
Great Tranquility there from Akaface kiting away. Man, the crowd control coming in through that choke. K1 Pro trying to throw out some damage there, but it's not going to be enough. Jay Shrite just ripping apart the health bars there of Simplicity with those scatter arrows. Now No Tomorrow. 2 members up over Simplicity here, 25 seconds out from the next shrine phase, but Simplicity will have every member alive during that first shrine spawn except for Maev. There's only a 10-second difference there between those two, and because it's only one shrine, this is going to be an easy rotation there for Simplicity. The only concern would be maybe a boss backdoor, but we're still a minute out from that even being an option.
Well, they tried to take the fight, unable to get it in the middle of that. You can see Tiger JK, he wasn't sure if there was enough for King Caffeine to keep himself alive, but Muradin, obviously the minute he had any chance at all, he was able to pop that avatar, try and stay alive, but he would have liked to have that palm back, that's for sure.
So, like, let's look at the decision-making here. This is the first time in this entire game, since the momentum went into Simplicity's favor, No Tomorrow has gotten their own control, right? Simplicity has one shrine on top. They're structurally sitting at a dead even footing, have no mercenaries to get a double stack on the bottom half, and aren't going to be able to make this rotation fast enough to demand the response before the rest of those shots are consumed. What I'm trying to highlight is Simplicity is now afraid to fight for the first time in this game. And I think that's going to be a problem moving into the next shrine. Their confidence, at least body language-wise, now, to me, is completely out the window, which it shouldn't be. Yes, one skirmish was lost, but for the most part, they have had full control here into this game. They now actually just gave No Tomorrow a dead even footing in terms of structures.
Well, the boss is now a point of contention. We saw No Tomorrow. They tried to rip that with that Hanzo.
Did we just brush talk top?
I believe he did. And
that's a boss rip if I've ever seen one.
Yeah.
Well, No Tomorrow decided to abuse that Hanzo racing capability to try and take advantage of the fact that there is no Dahaka. You could tell Zuno maybe second-guessed it after clearing that wave, half rotating down, going, yeah, the boss might be a problem. But
yeah,
it's not committed.
It's always back. I mean, giving up a few minions for saving your control of the global definitely is always going to play on, especially on this, and teams that can try and take advantage of that. But every second that passes by means that Brush Stalker closer and closer to coming up. And this is a familiar scene because Simplicity, that's where they had their big wombo combo kind of show in that bottom right bush.
Yeah, notice how Casanova is now anchoring the choke where we saw Maiev kind of lingering for a long period of time to enable that wombo combo. It's definitely a different tale, at least for now, and not nearly as aggressive and offensive posturing for Simplicity. Reveal is going to be there on King Caffeine. He gets flipped over time. Avatar already popped. All the damage coming through, but the palm from Tiger JK is there to get the heals, but can Cap make it out? Warden's Cage there for the disengage. Bunker going to reel the rest of the members of No Tomorrow in. Boss has been aggro. Jay Shrite actually is out of the fight. He's at 5% HP, and that is a big setback if Simplicity notices and wants to force a boss.
And that boss was like, hey, look, I want to fight too. I ended up getting a big chunk of Jay Shrite there. But there was a disengage. Those are a lot of heroics. Very good palm there by Tiger JK. And you mentioned before how much No Tomorrow got back on even footing. Well, we're back to the point where it's double temple phase. We always talk about the vision control, the eye that's going to be there. We already see that's established by No Tomorrow. They're also going to have vision over that top lane by way of a night camp that's going to be pushing in. So they have control and vision in several forms here. They do have Dahaka on the middle temple for now, does Simplicity though.
K1 Pro and King Caffeine, I can tell you, definitely understand the value of controlling vision. Especially when they have the Maiev on their team. It increases the initiation capabilities, especially over mid, drastically. They lose that momentum, though, with the Night Camp pressuring out. Thrall continuing the shots on bottom. K1 Pro not going to get punished there by the use of his gap closer. Tiger JK ends up burning the dash out. Still Thrall now making his way up there as they get the flip in over onto K1 Pro. He actually dodges the Dragon's Arrow there with that vault. He survives. But look at this flank from Thrall. Oh, no Earthquake available, so no flank committed to, but my goodness, No Tomorrow, great start there.
Tiger JK really showing why he's made his name on that Kerosene, coming in with that cleansing dash, making sure to basically save the Maiev there. No Tomorrow establishing control over both temples, at least momentarily.
First keep now going down in favor of No Tomorrow. Based on all of that failure to fight over that top fight is why that boss is, or why that keep is actually now down for the first time in favor here of No Tomorrow. And Simplicity, retreat. Notice again body language over that last fight on top. They tried to control over vision, they lost the momentum in the wave, and then they were willing to get the full disengage. No attempt to return the fight here. Again, I feels like Simplicity might be scared. Boss is absolutely an all-in situation. If they do end up contesting it, I can't help but feel like they wouldn't be afraid to take that. But I don't expect Simplicity to comfortably say, let's 5 versus 5 at any point unless they have to now.
Experience almost dead even as we see level 20. And this is the more interesting position we always find ourselves here on Sky Temple. The next temple phase will be top and bottom. And when a boss is available, it always brings up interesting decision-making. Speaking of decision-making, King Caffeine is just waltzing in. No 20 yet because Hanzo's showing up. And if you did want Hanzo in the fight, play the game, not yet ready.
Really cool fog abuse and kind of play right now around King Caffeine, around that corner, what he's trying to make happen there. Casanova moves in. Stormbolt actually taunt, gonna land on one. Cleansing dash goes through it, lands onto 2 Dragons there with the play of the game. Double man flip over, and that is the first kill there. Palm used. Palm, not proc, ladies and gentlemen. 2 members of Simplicity are out of here.
Well, one person got out, avoided the taunt. The other one did not, because the minute he came back in, did Tiger JK, Casanova grabbed them both, tossed him over, got the stun follow-up. Those are the 2 members that died. It was a nice play to start, but the execution at the end of it, definitely Casanova said, I got an answer for this one.
And I will say that I think that is part of the reason, especially with the introduction of Garrosh into the meta, that 7-sided has increased in priority, not only because Palm's a really hard spell to be able to get off, but it is amazing when it is effective. It's just you can't really do too much around that Garrosh on the other side of the battlefield, and having that self-cleanse plus threat to have that kill potential. But at the same time, it has been able to save Simplicity and come in some of these skirmishes earlier on. We'll see, though, if it can save them through this siege. They've already lost a lot of damage over mid-keep while losing the front wall on bottom. Any of these shots is a minimum double keep now for No Tomorrow.
The assault continues. There's going to be the toss in. Does have tunneling claws, able to make it out. But for now, he's getting taunted back. But we see the dive in by Simplicity. There's going to be into the fray. Tossing Akaface out. King Caffeine and team. The assault continues down the bridge of death.
Yeah, Groundbreaker, though, landing onto 2. Now turn on to Zuna. Too much damage coming in, but the palm from Tiger JK led with the 2-man flip out from Casanova. K1 Pro on the backline is getting the kill. K1 Pro is taking Simplicity and putting them on his back there, constantly diving onto the backline there of No Tomorrow. Casanova drops with Tiger JK coming in with those roots. Akaface buys room. But my goodness, Jay, how Simplicity, I feel like, just did the impossible.
This is end. They need to end. The bottom keep is low. We'll keep an eye on that in a moment. It looks like Simplicity, they're so far down structurally that even if they get temples, I don't think it's going to be there. But the Bridge of Death is called that for just a reason. But watch the resets by K1 Pro when he gets to that backline, because here's going to be the blink in just a moment over the wall.
Yeah, a huge amount of damage there over the wall. There
3, 4, the number, it became like uncountable.
Yeah, constantly cycling through and then eventually making it to the back line. And with that wipe there over that bottom skirmish, yes, there are catapults on the court, but it cannot handle the pressure of 5 members of Simplicity. Turning around, trying to stat pad there onto Aka. Mission accomplished. Game 2 goes over here to Simplicity.
No Tomorrow might have stuck around a little too long in that bot lane, but credit the comeback there of Simplicity. There were 2 temples up. There was 2 keeps essentially down at that point. Maybe could have just played around that, played the long game. But I don't think they expected that level of aggression. That was very impressive by Simplicity.
Yeah, and I feel like that, again, a lot of it started on K1 Pro putting them on something with a bit more initiation and just playmaking capabilities. It's not that he can't have that within Jaina. It's just old Jaina, he used to be able to flank, say you have to fight me, and then just get you out, get the outplay and win the game. And now, you know, Jaina can't function in that manner. But Maiev still kind of has that trade-off here, and I feel like it does look night and day there for the squad.
Night and day differences between those games. It seemed like we had a full 24, 36-hour cycle at that point, because it was good, bad, good on both sides there. But obviously, we've still got more to go. It's tied up here, 1-1 between No Tomorrow and Simplicity. We're going to go to a quick commercial break till we get to the conclusion of this series here on Sunday night.